The number 18 of the document acknowledge the difficult interpersonal and community relationships. In consecrated life, fraternity suffers setbacks to the point of justifying mediocre lifestyle, occasional gatherings, and a toleration for living together. Sister Nyati kindly unveiled the second part of the second station. When interpersonal relationships like fraternal and community life are reduced to formal reciprocal respect, second, to mere encounters in view of service, third, to common acts punctuated by the clock, fourth, when community meetings are lived as obligations, fifth, and vibrations to the daily routine are seen as threats to the quiet life. All these conditions are set for the progressive emptying of the sense of fraternity. For that, we can find sisters. Just observe also those little ones in the formation. They are attracted, including myself, attracted to live in solitude. We can find sisters in the community who lock themselves in their room as if in perpetual lockdown. That is not solitude. That is isolation. The underlying reasons can be, she wants to be left alone. Leave me alone. I can't bear to be with you in this community. The document continues. An isolation, dissatisfaction, and a sadness will slowly give rise to resentment, to constant complaint, to boredom. Solitude, on the other hand, becomes fruitful when it is inhabited by the presence of God, to whom we surrender our lives, and by the presence of brothers and sisters, a providential response, a providential presence which helps us come out of ourselves to rediscover the gift of the other. How do we live solitude? Is our solitude impregnated with the presence of God? Is our solitude impregnated by the deafening silence? Are we truly living in solitude? Or are we just masking it as isolation? Number 17 of the document emphasizes, it should come as no surprise that the first departure is achieved by distancing oneself from one's own community. Against these temptations, Pope Francis urges us to reclaim the value of community life. Let us take some moments of silence. Let us now proceed to the third station. Let us now unveil the third station of departure. Affective issues. Number 14 of the document asserted, when there is difficulty in constructing one's identity, it affects the way consecrated celibacy is understood and lived. The so-called affective crises are subject to many variables and difficult situations, not without dramatic implications. Affective issues are issues having to do with affection or affectivity. When they fall in love and eventually marry, the violation of the vow of chastity, which does not necessarily result in marriage, nor does it automatically result abandonment, but will still eventually lead to abandonment. Heterosexual/homosexual acts. I have nothing against homosexual, but we need to look into the reality of LGBTQ and those who have this orientation, because we can already find them in many congregations. If we accept them, then we are also responsible for them. What kind of formation can we offer to them? Who will accompany them? And then again, affective problems that have repercussions on the community life. Repercussions meaning unintended consequences occurring sometime after an event or action. This part can be considered as gray area that we need to identify them concretely. Some have said that 99% of community life issues are problems with community life that has to do with affection, not sexual, but affective problems. Problems having to do with relationships, with relatedness, relational conflicts of various levels. Number 20 of the document stated, one can well understand that unresolved tensions, often degenerating into open conflict, fuel dissatisfaction with the community, undermine the sense of belongingness to the Institute, and ultimately can discourage one's life choice to such an extent that abandoning the Institute is considered the only way out. Okay, sisters, we may now return to our seats. When all will be comfortably seated, we will then proceed to the next part. After identifying those causes of departures and abandonment, we are invited to look into the reality of our province once again, our community, our institute, and us an individual. Are they confirmed, reaffirmed? Do we have those symptoms? Or maybe we are asymptomatic. Are we symptomatic or asymptomatic? What are other causes that we can find? After knowing all of this, then what? Where does the Holy Spirit invite us to sail? When assessing the statistics of one's own institute, we will still find a mentality that interprets these situations are as inevitable result of the disorientation and uncertainty of the times, without wondering if perhaps they are also institutional failures. New admissions are publicized. Departures, abandonments, those who left the congregation are privatized, with an unconscious tendency to keep distance from those who left our institution or province in a way. There is no judgment here. We are again invited to gaze and to listen to what these institutional failures meant for us. Maybe the word institutional failures can be too overwhelming. But then again, we are invited to gaze and to listen. We are invited to look into the appropriateness of our formation programs, formators that we have chosen. A careful choice in formation masters and mistresses. There should be an adequate training and preparation of formators, especially in the human sphere, human formation, human, spiritual, charismatic, intellectual, and pastorals. Formators must also understand if they have only one person in formation, they must understand that their priority ministry is formation. They cannot be part-time formators, part-time directors or teachers, thus undermine formation as the priority ministry. Initial formation must also focus on faith. Again, initial formation must also focus in faith and on sexual affectivity. We have to be very careful here. This can no longer continue to be a taboo, as unfortunately is still the case in many institutes. The early years of consecrated life, attention needs to be paid to the crisis of realism, where perseverance is at stake. A special attention not to overload our young people with the tasks and responsibilities, because eventually this will result in activism, and after few years they'll grow tired and leave. Another essential thing to remember: abandonments or departures question formation. They bring into question the formation they received, the formation they were given. On a subject or issue as delicate as living consecrated life, it is important to offer both an attentive look and a sincere listening, discernment of the person concerned, of the one who accompanied, and of course the community. We are all involved. We are all responsible. It's easy to wash our hands like Pontius Pilate. We are co-discerners in our community. It is necessary to pay very close attention to a personalized accompaniment, not just on the part of the formator, but by the entire community. The entire community must provide adequate accompaniment. All members of the community must be able to live their charism with authenticity. For that, we have again to look and gaze the relevance of our charism. How are we going to appropriate our charism in this time, at this time, in today's world? Only then will all the members of the community become formators in the community. Thank you so much, my dear sisters. May God bless us all.